They are the team quite literally above them, and it doesn't really get much closer than this, and this is the most opportunistic time for King to take down a duo here. But Reason, there it is. Opportunities start to shift here. Reason and Badil now. Pressure starts to loom on them.
Craziest part to think about, too, is that they've still got to watch their backs because Rift Island just lurking in the distance, slightly higher elevation than themselves. Peterbot Boyle, they were definitely trying to see if they could track down anybody for some additional tags, knocks, elims, ideally, but one of these teams has got to get a go on here. FDF, they can't afford to just sit idle. It's either fight or get eliminated.
Here it comes. I'm seeing two shots coming from both sides. Reason goes for it first. Vadiel on the other side doing an excellent job, but a trade comes out. King's weak, and he's going to be the first to fall. Reason and Vadiel come out on top, and even then, it's just enough to stay alive for now.
Crazy, though, when you think about how many teams are getting caught inside these box fights, inside of the storm itself. For Stash Malabuka, they're just on a recovery tour currently, and it's incredible to think that they're still 156 above that damage threshold, despite that hiccup of Malabuka having to make the reboot van play in the first place. Waxum thing, though, they seem like they're primed and interested, potentially, but instead it's just going to be heading to the top of Rift Island. Malabuka might get faced, though. He wants more damage.
Little does he know, though, there is Trashy and Threats up here. It's the Xset right now, still lurking nearby. I'm very curious as to why they haven't gone yet. And we might just find out here soon if they end up opening the box and taking fire. But no, Malabuka takes flight first. He's going to get pretty far off. Will it be enough,
No
Taco?
way.
It's not looking like the math is going to math here. As Malabuka's going to be the first to fall. He tries to get as far as possible. Murstache will have to land on him and save him now.
The problem, though, is that we're looking at two tick zones currently. Monster, Murstache, he can try his best effort, but I fear he might be in a similar fate, because even if he makes it into this next edge of zone, he's still going to deal with all the teams that are already situated and ready to take advantage of the players that are late straggling in.
Take a look at this refresh from Vino in clicks now, as they managed to find themselves a little bit of a cachet from some leftover action between Casper and Prism. Prism now not being in this fight. And still, you have OCE's Damo and Resigns almost on this warpath with them, continuing to be that thorn in their side, if you will, for lack of a better phrase. But back on over to the focus here as Clicks is looking for action here. Those are his walls. It's Acorn. It's Cold on the other side. A very scary team to go against. In the warm-up games yesterday, in the scrims, right, in our practice lobbies, they pulled off a incredible 16 eliminations just to show the lobby what they're capable of.
The real issue is just knowing that for Clicks and Benno, Clicks, he just needs some white heals. And you're not going to get that at this stage unless you're able to take down another team successfully. Murstache and Malabuka, though, have pulled off a miracle at this point. And it does seem, even though they're a little bit worse for wear, they're battered for sure, but they're still kicking, and that's all they need at this stage.
They do have big shields as well to work with. That headshot that he picks up right there is going to make a huge difference there as far as their survivability is concerned. Major eliminations are happening, though, as we're covering the action here. One of those, it's Peterbot and Boyle staying active here. Down goes Chiefs from the high ground there. And they are doing what we expect of them. Very healthy, extremely material capped, and now picking up points. That's a runaway train potentially starting to take form.
Meanwhile, other teams like Cuddy and Kovacs just trying to see if they can find an angle. Yuma Rise under a little bit of duress here, but it's back to Clicks. Benno trying to see if they can finagle their way out of this awkward position that they found themselves in, boxed up right next to Acorn and Cold. But again, Acorn and Cold, they've got decent amount of materials to work with. More importantly still, though, I think that they are certainly willing to jump into a fight if it calls for it.
Oh yeah, yesterday has absolutely proven that they can take on any team without a problem. Talk about good teams that are still standing right now, teams that we've been kind of following the story. Victor being Paper. Paper a little worse for wear. Seems like a bad peek's going to go ahead and put him on the backside of this engagement here. And Vino facing the struggles of taking a lot of damage here as well, and not being able to recover now as they don't have whites.
Still has a couple of flow berries, but again, will that really be enough? Queasy, Thomas HD now starting to surface as well near their area. Ritual, though, takes some big tags, left that wall open just a moment too long. But Ritual, Freak, come on, coming out of Doomstad. Got to be dealing with Epic Oil and most early on. The fact that this dude already has 3 elims is rather impressive, but Malabuka as well, still holding his own. Shari's got a little bit of an angle to keep advantage, so Malabuka's going to look to try and see if he can find a more aggressive push from underneath. Meanwhile, Mustache, again, just trying to make sure he doesn't take another tick from the storm, but it's too little too late. Just barely makes it in. At least Malabuka can go for the revive.
You know, all things considering, he'll have more HP when he stands up than he did when he went down, so it's not all too bad here, but it is definitely time lost. The surge is active. They need to find a couple tags. Into the box they go. Back behind him is another duo as well, and if he doesn't hit this shot, he's going to be sent back to the lobby, and he hits the one that matters. Malabuka and Mustache are clawing their way out of this hole here, and unfortunately, it might not be enough here. It's so close.
Malabuka is doing everything in his power, but right here, they have finally met their end. Zero business making it that far in the first place, though, but that is the kind of power that Malabuka and Mustache can bring.
Well, here's a couple things to celebrate. Placement points has been reached. We are inside the top 25. Anyone alive now is going to start to be rewarded with more and more points. This is where things start to almost compound for you, so you want to stay up. Vino is down right now. Clix has a very important decision to make here. Do you save your best mate or let him get sent back to the lobby so you can just focus in now? Seems like he wants to go for the save. Armored Rolf going to be the saving grace here for a moment, though. Instead, Vino makes the call. Leave me. Continue to play the game here.
Veno knew there was just way too much pressure coming from the other side of that wall. A fully intact duo, and that duo being Queasy and Thomas HD. There's just no realistic opportunity for Clix to bring that one back. But Queasy, he's actually looking a little hurt here. He might have been desperate at that point, and Clix finds himself in a similar situation. Only has small shield potions to rely on, 2 below. When it comes to the damage threshold, he's got to make a move, and he's got to do it now. But I don't think anybody's giving him an opening.
Well, he's still inside the top 20 now. The more teams that fall, this would be excellent for Clix here. He just has to hold on a little bit longer, and he is doing just that. A little bit of a zone pull towards his side, more or less. But High Ground has Cammy and Seti looking from up above, and it has never looked better for this duo.
Kadu and Sia having already been eliminated. And again, reconvening with Clix's
oh my god.
POV, but Clix is just crazy with the movement. The fact that he managed to escape.
Still alive.
Still
clutching. Almost a top 15 now, and he's inside the top 15. Could he make a top 10? And so close, and down he goes to the hands of Peterbot. He takes him down. Peterbot is also a solo.
It could have been anybody in this circumstance, but of course it had to be Peterbot. But take a look at the high ground. Chapentini. And they're looking for even more still. 5 eliminations already built up here, Monster. And they've got a really strong grasp on this high ground.
What an incredible view for Chapentini. This is coming off the mountain here. Seti seems to have lost his teammate now. Has to do this on his own here. But still, anything can happen. But Must and Epic World inside the box, inside the lane. He's throwing armored walls down. That's going to buy him a little bit of time. Excellent plays here from Seti. No time to play with this storm, though. He just cannot afford it.
Said he's doing everything he can to try and scale his way up this mountain face, but things are just going to get all the more vicious the higher he climbs. The more pressure he might encounter. Muzz is going to find himself into a situation. Peterbot goes huge there, though, on the Seti.
8 eliminations now for Peterbot and Boyo here. Peterbot still going. Nearly finding another one there. Just moments away now from a top 5 here. Can he do it as a solo? He's getting spotted out. The armor wall comes down. Another weak player in front of him. Oh, he didn't get tagged. It was so close. But now the focus comes into who will win game 1. We have just 4 teams remaining. Make that 5. Acorn and Cole find another.
Duke simply too sabotage, losing his duo Sphinx there to Peterbot, but Acorn and Cole, the fact that they are still intact, 5 armored walls as well to work with here for Acorn. Chapentini, though, they're trying to see if they can look for an opportunity to collapse. Pico, Flixie off in the distance as well. The mid-ground starting to really pile up here.
Well, look at this. High ground starting to run out of material. Vico and Flixie, this is the pick for me. The team that I knew, you leave them uncontested. They're just going to put in dangerous work here on the field. And it is starting to shape up. Acorn and Cold at a saving grace on the low ground. On the outskirts, putting pressure onto Japan's best. Rise and Yuma, who also has 7 eliminations. Yuma sends up against Acorn. Finds a beautiful tag there. Loses teammate, though. Finds another exchange. It's back and forth here. Anything can still happen.
All these teams scurrying in the low ground, though, they're sabotaging each other. Acorn's gonna go down. Yuma's still standing tall, but now Chapentini from the high ground, they're just gonna collapse, and that is just another elimination to add to the count. Vico, Flixie versus Chapentini. It's a battle of Europe.
A battle for the ages indeed here. 5 eliminations still for Teeny and Chap. Things are starting to rack up. Teeny, the first to go down. Chap's also weak. They jump in. They close the game. In game number 1, the victory royale will go to Chap and Teeny.
Could it be more deserved? The way that they held down that high ground MDF, you could tell that they were aiming exclusively for the victory royale at this stage. But granted, you have to keep in mind, there's somebody on the ground that can help out even more so.
Dallas, would you please give it up for your Game 1 winners? Chapentini, do you want to step up for me here, fellas? So everyone can see your glorious faces. Let's kick things off here. What a great start. I mean, you guys, obviously, Game 1, a lot of pressure, been waiting around the beginning, but in front of these fans, to walk us through the end game, how did things pan out for you guys?
Good. We're the best players, so it's easy.
Best players, easy. I mean, I love the confidence there. For you as well there, I mean, your teammate here, you guys worked to get Vico and Flixie in the last seconds there. You had the high ground. Is that what really counted there?
Of course, we're only playing for height, and that's how we win games. That's it.
Coming into this competition, obviously a lot of expectations, things that might happen. Did things pan out in that first game as you thought they might, or was it very different?
It was different. We took forecast, and then we just played out.
Those forecast towers are playing very pivotal in this as well. How important are those in the rest of this competition with 11 games left to go?
The most important thing, if you get that, you win the game. It's easy.
Would you please give it up one more time for your Game 1 winners, Chapentini, everyone! Oh, things have started beautifully here. There is loads more coming your way here, courtesy of the FNCS Global Championships 2024. A short break from us here on the broadcast, but do not go anywhere. Stay exactly where you are. There's loads more coming your way very, very soon.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the FNCS game number 1. Chap and TD find themselves the victory royale, and that first game was absolutely crazy to see these guys come out on top and to get that interview, right? Hey, we're the best team. You just get forecast, you get this, you get we're the best team. That's it. That's all that matters.
I mean, if you look at Major 2, Major 3, when they both got second place in both majors, yeah, they're kind of one of the best teams right now.
Yeah.
And showing up today and showing up early as well, eliminating Agers and Rise right off the bat.
Yeah, really, really interesting after this first game, because we were sort of talking about it going into the first game. Where are these guys going to land? What's their strategy going to look like? We didn't quite know, and now we get a little bit of an insight into what that's going to look like. It seems like they're really prioritizing that forecast tower. Another thing that we focused on at the beginning of the show, they want that forecast tower, and that's the reason why they're able to get height right here. You saw Cammy and Seti sort of shaping up to try and take height and holding it in that sort of 8-9 zone, but they didn't get that next zone. So Teeny and Chap took that opportunity really well because they knew where it was going.
Also, to be able to hold height for as long as they did, all the way from zone 9. Once again, the forecast tower allowing them to know where to move that height and use or save up those much needed mats towards the end of the game there. Absolutely phenomenal. What a great way to start the competition.
Just again, cold. They're just ice cold, chilling there. Yeah, we're the best. Not a big deal. Man, that is a statement game out of game number 1. But there was just so many things that transpired in game number 1. Just so many solo performances that all took place. I mean, we saw there for a moment, even Rise and Yuma making a top 3. 8 eliminations? That's terrifying. We can't let that happen.
Yes, we can, and they did. And I want to see it happen again. Rise and Yuma representing Asia right now, showing that, oh, yeah, it's NA versus you. You got to watch out for Asia as well.
Yeah, these guys are really looking good right there. 8 eliminations clutching up there in the end in those final few moments. The crowd erupted as soon as they got that final elimination. Wasn't quite enough to get into that first or second, but they've got to be happy with that start, particularly on this stage.
That's right. I want to highlight Peterbot, man. I don't know what Peterbot is about, but I do now. In those final moments, Poyo goes down and you have the solo clutch, and he pulled it off.
And Peterbot to take down Clicks in game number 1. You know that there was definitely some emotions going high right there, but Peterbot, if he is down into a solo, I mean, he's honestly a duo as a single player.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, both of these players have the ability to do this, solo clutches. And in big events like this, 12-game formats, these solo clutches are going to be so vital in getting these guys into a really nice position. I must say, this burst assault rifle ex-Peterbot is a crazy combo. It shouldn't be allowed because he's so good with that. And then even towards these endgame situations, taking out Seti there at that final few moments just to keep himself going. Of course, too little, too late towards the end, but really, really great start from him.
I mean, their strategy is just so clean from the start. Landing rep, getting the coin, getting the mythic AR, going over to the forecast tower, and then getting the Rift Island as well in that game, allowing them to just have a little bit of height, a little bit more mats, and more importantly, getting that mod weapon bench so that I saw Poyo kind of modifying his weapons there, getting exactly what they wanted so that they were prepared for the end game.
I love seeing their 3rd place. Vico, Flixie, a 2nd place. They didn't even need the Victory Royale, right? The fact that they made it to 2nd place, you've already done too much. You've already let them get too far in the game.
Yeah, I mean, they started off so strong as well, getting eliminations onto Shadow and Virgo by zone 1 there. And then, of course, just dominating the low ground as we know them to do.
Yeah, exactly. Another really solid performance of these guys. We've seen them do it previously. It's exactly what we expected. Low to mid ground, finding those eliminations. And towards the end there, where it was the final 2v2, it was kind of like Major 3, where it was 2 of the best teams in EU going head-to-head. Of course, 2 different, very, very different play styles. These guys are not necessarily going to be going for height every single game. But, of course, what I noticed there was a little bit of a change in rotation. They went towards the north side of their drop spot, so interesting to see whether that's going to change throughout the day, whether the forecast tower fight's going to affect that, but really nice start from these guys.
That's right, guys. I know you want more action. We can talk more about this, but let's just jump back into it. MDF, the best taco. Back over to you. Yeah, that was a very intense game, obviously, as we're coming out. I couldn't even believe it. I almost, just threw the whole mic off the headset. I was really into it for a second there.
Yeah, and the craziest part still, of course, we have 2 EU teams duking it out to close off our first lobby here. And match number 2 is ready to go.
The battle bus has left this station. Match number 2 is here. What do we have in store for us this game? I mean, last one was surely a surprise with the Middle Eastern teams taking a top 10 position. One Asia team up there as well. And of course, those that you expect. The best from NA, some of the greats from EU.
Yeah, and Acorn and Cold, they haven't necessarily had an easy time about it either here at Brutal Beachhead. You know, you get like the soft contest coming out of Analyx and Sato, and this could prove to be very difficult though for Analyx and Sato, because you can tell the commitment is there, but if they want to take this fight to Acorn and Cold, it could be a really difficult one to actually close out in quick fashion.
We have to give all credit to not only Clix and Vino for Clix's performance to stay alive and secure a top 15, but Damo and Resigns, who found even more placement points, ending just closer to that top 10. So a very impressive performance for teams that were contested that game, actually. When you start to do the math on that, that is almost unprecedented.
Well, it was almost like Damo and Resigns were trailing Clix and Veno the entire match, and if they hadn't actually stumbled upon Kishuro as a solo, I almost wonder if things could have maybe gone a little differently there, because that's what really got them tied up into a rough position. But again, hindsight's always 2020. Currently, we are focused on the now. Chap and Teeny lingering around the Nitro Dome, but Kanata and Cooper close by means that all they can really look for here is just trying to prioritize their mat count.
Yeah, we do know Kanata and Cooper like to rotate closer to Agers and Rise, whom was taken out pretty early last game, so they didn't get to secure that fight, and they found themselves in a completely different battle up against Visual and Braids, and it really didn't go their way. Shortly afterwards, Braids ended up falling to Epic Whale Muzz, so pretty interesting, zone dynamic starting to take shape here, and that's really part of the high level of Fortnite. Game to game, micro-adjusting, right? They all know what went well, what went wrong, and it's about adjusting in the real time, but here's Seiyun, here's Kadu against Casper and Prism. Little stands off here, so it seems like this game, similar to match one, is going to kind of take its time rolling into the eliminations.
Yeah, Janice almost seemingly happy about the fact that these teams kind of caught wind of each other, because that allowed for him to just slip on by, head on out, red line rig, make sure that he doesn't get caught in the mix. He's clearly just trying to make a play for that reboot man, because I didn't see Pixie anywhere near, so almost makes you wonder at the same time. It's going to be a difficult situation for a lot of these teams.
There's Cammy and Seti. They have angles, they have a little bit of high ground. Meanwhile, King and Phaser getting active right now just outside the Rebels' roost. What is happening here? They seem to be finding their groove right now. It's Visual and Braids once again who are giving some of these duos a really difficult time, making them all second guess whether or not they should be sticking around and fighting them. So, that's impressive.
Yeah, but this is also a really smart disengage from King and Phaser, recognizing the fact Sky Scroll still nearby as well. Rebels Roost just a little bit too poppin' for their interest at the moment, but even hanging around the underworld could pose some issues, because they didn't stick around for the fight. Don't know how much surge damage they've actually been able to accrue at this stage, and once we start to get into that mid-game rotation aspect of the we already saw a handful of teams, even some of the teams that you wouldn't necessarily anticipate to struggle with their surge damage, having issues.
Very interesting. We get to catch up with Batman, Booga, and Rapid here at the Grim Gate. This has been their drop spot for quite some time, coming out of Major 3, of course, with an excellent performance. If you start looking at the paper trail of Rapid and Batman, Booga, everyone's marking them up towards the top 3 as far as the NA teams are concerned. And talking about top 3, it wouldn't be one without Cold and Acorn. They're just putting teams down. This time, they do finish the fight up against Andalex and Sato. They don't let them escape.
But now, something that Sato and Andalex are potentially going to have to start considering is, if this keeps going in favor of Acorn and Cold, if they continue to take the fight to them, do you switch for day 2? But I think we still got a few more lobbies to work through before that really starts to become the real question mark here. For Stash Malabuka, though, starting off somewhat on the right foot here at Restored Reels. One elimination already. Curious if one of those is onto either Alex or Worthy.
Yeah, something happened there, but Bolt and Bryce are in a fight right now. A little build-off happening here. It's a pretty intensive early game fight for, given the situation, a Zone 1 Sky base going on here. This is going to be a full-on reset if it doesn't end fast. It's up against Biko and Flixie. Obviously, our second place coming out of game 1. very much fired up, very much confident.
Bryce and Bolt are not going to fold here, though. The forecast tower, the weapons bunker that spawns nearby Dupenhazen, where Bolt and Bryce like to land. And this is something that, they were willing to contest Reed and Ritual for when it was Reed and Ritual at Reckless Railway. So now Vico, Flixie haven't taken over that position. And it's funny because you ask Vico in the player lounge last night, hey, what do you think about the forecast tower? He's like, that's my forecast tower. You ask any of these players who are actually trying to contest, they'll always tell you the same thing. That's my forecast. And yet, Vico, Flixie, they find themselves stuck because Bryce and Bolt either need to get eliminated or forced out here. Whoever controls the NPC is going to win.
And it's pretty incredible. You got to talk with Vico. I got to talk with Bolts and Bolts' brother, and they had nothing but positive things to say, and honestly confidence about the fact that this is their forecast tower, and he's here, and he believes that paired up with Bryce, they are a perfect combination. So very interesting to see that both teams very much feel like they're entitled to this drop. Vico and Flixie seem to be the first, of course, boots on the ground here. They're going to secure the card, which means they have everything that they need here to go ahead and be the one to get the first dibs. But Bolt comes in, takes down Flixie from up above. Whose tower is it?
Vico might have that key card, but how long can he really hold on to it? He's trying to just get out of dodge at this point, creating as much space as possible. But Bolt and Bryce, now that they've isolated Vico by forcibly eliminating Flixie, they're going to chase him. They do not want to let him escape with that forecast key card.
And this is not just an elimination. This is not just a player. That is someone who holds the keys to every single storm for the remainder of this game. It is worth so much more than just a set of points. Bolts and Bryce have to think long and hard, and they end up easing off for a second. But because Clone and Kromsu is waiting for them, and Bryce is going to be one of the first to fall now as he gets ambushed.
This was almost like an unexpected gift. Clone and Kromsu were situated exclusively for the bunker, and yet when Vico tried to escape because he recognized the fact, hey, I've just got to play for the reboot. I just need to get Flixie back into this game. We'll deal with the forecast later. But Kromsu and Clone, dude, too slick with it.
That was just dirty right there to get boxed up. But look, Bolts has the card, so he actually ends up finding Vico potentially here, or no?
Vico dropped it.
Yeah, he ends up dropping it just so that he doesn't, bring that heat with him. So very, very interesting turn of events here.
But sure, you might have forecast secured, but at what cost? Because realistically, if I'm Kromsu, I'm not letting you escape. And that's the thing. Vico knew that there was no reason for him to continue trying to hold on. He did not have the materials to feasibly escape unless he gave up that key card.
I actually love that we got to see him drop the key card as well, right? Just saying, hey, look, you can have it, man. My hands are in the air. White flag is with. Go ahead, titular game, right? There's just something so prestigious about the Fortnite Global Championship that even the players give respect to one another like that. It's incredible to watch.
Wow, this is looking like a menacing situation building up currently, though. Clicks, Venno, Acorn, Gold, Chap, Teeny, Gammy,
Oh my
Seti.
gosh.
I don't think we could ask for anything better at this stage, but fact of the matter is, all these teams are just fixated on one thing, and it's likely the weapons bunker.
You hear it. It's opening up right now, and Clicks and Vino the first to fold as they recognize, hey, there are 4 teams here. This is not the greatest idea. They double back to the campfire. They'll get their chance at the bunker, right? They'll be able to pick up some scraps, get their attachments. But first, sit things out, let things settle.
I like that flyby, though, Janice and Pixie, so it looks like Janice's rescue mission was a success. He was able to make his way towards a reboot van, but again, you have to start to wonder what kind of damage was he able to collect prior to losing Pixie. And now, Reckless Railway is heating up one more time because Vico doubled back, brought Flixie into it, but now Shadow and Virgo trying to see if they can pose a threat.
Listen, Shadow, someone I've known for a long time. I've followed his career closely. He is a very, very scary player. Once he starts to get situated, game 1 jitters are out of the way now. Him and Virgo have been nothing but successful as a duo here. But wait a second. Vico and Flixie, as we know, again, are EU's best right now. Clearly some of the strongest fighters on the region. And then you have OCE's Dayanith and Tinka, right? Champions of OCE lurking nearby, seeing what's happening here. Trying to put OCE's stamp on it.
But Pico and Flixie, I mean, we're talking about you major 3 winners at this stage, right? You've got to imagine the level of confidence. Even when you talk to either of them, they are just reeking of confidence, essentially, and for good measure, because Pico, Flixie, they've been successful. Despite the fact that Pico was incredibly low on material count as well, he's still able to stave off Shadow and Virgo, and that is not an easy feat by any means.
Jumping to the other side here. Dukes and Sphinx trying to figure out what's happening down here south on the zone as things are just starting to develop. Clearly, shots are coming in from teams in the distance. Meanwhile, Queasy has that high ground. Chap the lure. Up, trying to see how he can possibly get involved. Teeny already sitting on the base for a moment there. You couldn't even tell.
I don't even know if it's Queasy that's in danger nearly as much as what it might be Thomas HD when he tries to work his way back towards the surge base he has with Queasy. You can hear the Monarch pistol, shots flying out overhead. Thomas making his way back towards him, but he scouted it out, managed to throw up a wall just in the nick of time. Queasy also on high alert now. But Chap Teeny, they've made enough noise. Other teams in the distance actually trying to take side shots at them.
Gotta respect Thomas HD's ability to not only see them and react faster than they can land a shot on him, but to also get up to high
Cost
ground
them nothing, too.
before it was too late. And look, they're gonna just go ahead and get off of there. They're like, wait, that team, they want to fight? No, we don't need that. They give them the respect. They back off the restored reels. They play for center zone now. And this is a very, very good early rotate to go ahead and find a new position here, find some new real estate, if you will. Meanwhile, at the Grim Gate, we have another rise in Yuma coming out of Asia, representing here last game. Phenomenal performance, ending up towards the top. 8 eliminations as well. This game off to a hot start with 2. Look, we look away, we blink for a second, and the double headshot onto Phaser.
The lineup is just nasty. You can just tell that Thomas HD and Queasy are probably ecstatic about that loot llama they essentially just picked up from the knock.
Yeah, I don't even know if they want to cross over to pick up the loot at this point. It would end up being all too risky with King nearby, but Chap and Teeny haven't stopped their pursuits onto different duos. I'm feeling like maybe they're not getting enough tags in these fights.
It can also be so disorienting to other teams in the lobby when you're dealing with the likes of Chap and Teeny, because they're just to make sure that their rotations maintain their smoothness. But Yanis, layer below, Chap and Teeny are currently boxed up, and they are not the only ones. Tramsu, Clone, lurking overhead, Persa, Ed as well. Ed as well. Close.
They're not finding the tags. It's very clear, regardless of how many teams they've managed to fight. It just hasn't been successful. But this, so far, looking like the best here. Double armor walls come out. That's going to slow down all of their momentum here. And if I'm being honest, I think they have to keep pursuing it, find a new angle, do something else. They can't afford to stop at this point. Teeny's got a new angle here. He's behind Pixie now. The other duo, basically, that's there is Ed and Persa, who are also very, very weak. It's just not looking good for the Brazilian duos. Not looking too good for EU's Jonas.
But every
behind
time.
him, Chap's hurt. Back against the wall. He needs to find the one, and it's so close, but he's going to be the first to fall.
Pixie kind of reminding Chap, hey, we're familiar with each other for a reason, but Jonas and Pixie, they just had too much of an advantage knowing. KS that flashback moment, but Janice, Pixie especially is in a really rough position, trying to deal with Quanti at the same time as well, but these two know they've just got to disengage. They need an opportunity to get that mech hit off, so Pixie will find a moment here, but Quanti still good pose, pretty big threat. All depends on how Janice and Pixie actually choose to leave from this current position.
Looking up, Epic Whale Muzz right now. Also, below the Storm Surge here, they just need a little tag. Bring your focus down to that bottom right, that map. We're in zone 5 out of 12, right? So we're going to get to the late part of the game. Things are going to get to real small with the circle, and it's only going to become more and more difficult if you're one of those teams that don't have heals.
The problem is, when you're also a team like Muzz and Epic, you had the shield, you had the white heals, but you're losing all of it because you're just underneath that Storm Surge. Finally, they'll manage to catch a break in the form of damage, and they'll look to try and see what they can scavenge here at the top of Rift Island. Surprisingly enough, mostly undisturbed.
Little update there as Adapter and FKS fully eliminated. So 10th place is out, first place is out. Cammy and Seti not looking too great right here. Below the damage threshold as well. Again, what that means is that lightning bolt is going to start coming down from the sky. They're going to start losing 25 HP over the course of time. Periodically, it'll start to add up. Flixie and Vico, this is why they're fighting all the teams, because they need to. Otherwise, they will be sent back to the lobby for not doing enough damage. Here it is. Vico gets slammed in on from 2 angles, but Cammy gets crushed by a devastating shot. Vico hits the one that he needs to. Meanwhile, Rise and Yuma jump into the mix here. This is our team in the lead here. Vico, though, is so good that he is putting up numbers up against every single region right now and still defending for his teammate.
He's just trying to make sure that he can throw Flixie into a safe position. Revive is clearly on his mind. Armored walls are going to be sent out. Yuma, Rise, they're hoping that they can try to collapse, but I fear the moment has left them. Vico doing so much when it mattered most to hold his ground. And sure enough, the revive is a success. Flixie has been brought back into this battle. And that's going to cause Rise and Yuma to reconsider whether they actually want to take this engagement.
And that was our current first and second place teams basically to be going head to head. But let's jump in with Clone and Kremsu right now. Another team very, very desperate here to find a fight. Clicks and Epic Whale are the team not so desperate but ready to defend. But no, they lose the walls first. This is not looking good. But they end up finding the shots. And Clicks is so fast. He hits one and then the second before they can even notice what happened to them.
Yeah, you know this guy's been taking some tips from Menno. I mean, he's been forming his own kind of masterclass at this stage.
The edit in, caught by Vino there. The trap was delayed. So good.
That's exactly the kind of bounce back, too, that you would hope for, especially when you consider game number 1 probably got a little bit more messy than what they'd initially intended. So moments like that can really captivate a lot of momentum for players on the big stage.
You know, you make a great point. The first game was really difficult for them. They spend a little too much time inside the storm. So look, already micro adjustments starting to come in, but Muzz and Epic Whale here. Muzz is down. Epic Whale's down. Muzz is by himself. He finds the tags that he needs, doubles back to save his teammate as the Storm Surge was doing damage. And Vadil and Reason are recognizing, wait a second, why did you stop pushing here? Something clearly went wrong. Muzz now has to back off. I don't even think he got to pick up his teammate in time. No, Epic Whale gets finished there. And the development now for Muzz is that he is left by himself with nothing to really work with. I mean, it's all but over for him at this point if Vadil and Reason want to push.
At the same time, though, Muzz is definitely a bit of a solo mastermind. If anybody could look for a clutch opportunity, the real issue that I'm seeing right now, though, MDF, Baka, Pars, right behind where Muzz is currently fixated. If he wants to press forward, Vadil and Reason on the other end of these walls, it's going to cost Muzz so much if he's able to escape this as far as his builds are concerned. He's already looking low on that material count.
Yeah, you saw him look through the wall. It's like, wait, what's left there? Nothing. And I think that was a mistake because now Badial and Reason can tell, wait, he's still pretty close, and they definitely know he's a weakened solo. But hey, if Muzz can stay alive, he has the zone, he'll be okay for a little bit of time. Placement points are just moments away. Take a look from the other perspective, how the damage ended up racking up there. An excellent tag by Reason, and then the Surge finishes the job there in the end. So very, very close. Had, they not had that problem, they definitely were the team ahead. But here's a team that hasn't really found their footing just yet. Peterbot and Boyo trying to figure it out in match number 2 right now.
Well, you say that, but Peterbot was kind of on a rampage in our first lobby. But this time, obviously, hoping that he can do it alongside his duo, Bifoli, Kyoto. They are met with an armored wall. The moment that they try to aggress onto Pars and Baka, they'll be forced to drop to the low ground. Seeing they can try chop out these floors from underneath, but Pars, Baka, they recognize there's too much desperation from this duo. We don't need to take any sort of risky peeks. We're just going to stay them back.
They kind of have to, though, but no, Mapoli goes up to the box by himself. Baka and Pars are some of the best to do it, though, and they hit their tags. Literally granted a huge opportunity there to get comfortable and situated in this game now. Meanwhile, Clix and Vino on a huge rotate here across the map. Talk about a night and day position to be in. Elite, material, and much more to work with right now. Clix, though, has to buy some time, get a little healthy here. Starting to run out of shields to work with, though, but still, they get time to regather themselves, to compose themselves for a moment.
The most important part was looking at both of their material counts. That is a strong build count for them to work with, and they're going to need every bit of it, because when you look at Titans like Thomas HT and Queasy up on the high ground already, just trying to take advantageous shots at any of these teams that are starting to trickle their way in, trying to see if they can suppress as many duos as possible to those mid and low ground layers.
Well, here it is. It seems like they've been able to catch a little bit of extra information there. Now looking for teams nearby. Bryson Bolt's going to be one of the first to go ahead and be in the line of sights here. But the zone hasn't popped just yet. They know it's got to go north. They're working their way through this build here. The cover's been blown, and they back off. Happy with the few tags, but still, they need more eliminations. Surely more placement points if they want to jump up to top 5, as those teams are still in this game. Meanwhile, Queasy still ramping his way across the high ground, right?
And that's for sure. Queasy, Thomas, they're going to try to hold on to hype for as long as possible. Ideally, the entire game, if possible, like what we saw at Chapatini in the last match. But Acorn Cold, very efficient,